This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takacs and myself, Naren Arulrajah.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast, the official podcast of the Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy, www.rid.academy. Membership to the Academy is a gift from Gary and I in appreciation for your listenership. Visit rid.academy and don't forget to register. By registering, you will have access to all of our resources and a free pass to all of our events, including our annual summit. I am Naren, your co-host. Today's podcast is titled, The Goal of Achieving Financial Independence from Your Practice. Before we jump into today's topic, I have a quick announcement. We have a live event happening. It's on the 9th of April, and the link is thrivingdentist.com/events. Just go to thrivingdentist.com/events, 7 p.m., and you'll get 1 hour of CE. And the topic we'll be covering is how to build strong patient relationships in dentistry. You're going to love it. It's going to be wealth of information, jam-packed, plus 1 hour of CE. Take advantage of it. It's our gift to you. Go to thrivingdentist.com/events, and we'll put a link also in the show notes so you can easily get to that link and sign up. Let me jump into today's topic, the goal of achieving financial independence from your practice. As a marketing company, I know one of the benefits of strong marketing is, you are able to grow your revenues with high quality new patients. And why are we growing our revenues with high quality new patients? Because a practice that's making, let's say, $200,000 in profit versus $400,000 in profit, the second one is much better because you're making double the profit every year. Plus, your practice is worth twice, right? Assuming that people are going to pay you the same ratio of profit to the value of the practice. So how do you achieve financial independence? And of course, one way to achieve financial independence is to increase the net profit you make every year. The other way is to increase the value of your practice. So in the event you decide to sell, now your practice is worth 2 times what it used to be or 3 times what it used to be. So I'm really interested in talking about this topic. I know one of the reasons people drop PPO plans is PPO is a killer of profits, right? They keep most of the money, these fat cats at the insurance companies. So you don't make profit, which means your financial independence becomes further and further away. Gary, your comments.
Yeah, I'm excited about this topic because, believe it or not, we have never covered this topic in the Less Insurance Dependence podcast. Never. In over 300 plus episodes, this is a topic that we haven't covered, right, and it's past due. So let's start by talking about definitions. The goal of achieving financial independence. What does it mean, to be financially independent? Well, I've got a very specific definition for you. And the definition is the day in time when you can go to work because you want to, not because you have to. That's when you're financially independent. Now, let's get more granular and more specific about that. So from a financial perspective, when you have resources of some sort, it could be investments, it could be in a pension environment, stocks and bonds, and so on. When you have resources that will allow you to reproduce your income every year without ever touching those resources, without ever selling your real estate or without ever depleting the resources in your pension plan, then you are financially independent. And to use an example, let's say, Naren, pick an annual salary that you think might be appropriate. We want annual salary to be as high as possible for our doctors, but pick a number that we can use as an example. I'll let you pick. Pick an annual.
Yeah, I mean, typically, let's assume you have your kids are grown up, you paid for their schools. Now it's just you and your wife.
No, I'm talking about annual income. How much money they make?
Yeah. So I mean, at the very least, I think if it's just a couple in today's world making 200,000 or more after taxes?
Okay, now I'm talking about, when you're working, how much?
Oh, when you're working.
Okay, I'm going to do
okay.
it. I'm going to do it. You're not getting it, Darren. 400 grand.
Okay.
Doc makes 400 grand.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, you're financially independent when you have investments, real estate, stocks and bonds, pension plan. When the proceeds from those investments would produce 400,000 or more a year in annual income, you are then financially, you don't have to go to work anymore because you have it coming from something else. Now, if it would require you to deplete the assets, sell, maybe your thing for investing is apartments and condos. If you'd have to sell apartments and condos to provide that income, then your battery is going to die. You're going to run out.
Right.
And so, you want those resources to stay in place. That's when you're, financially independent.
Right.
And frankly, there's a lot of tools that doctors can use to do that. Notably, a pension plan. The cool thing about a pension plan, and there's all kinds. 401k is maybe the easiest way to get started in some kind of a pension plan. You could grow there into a money purchase, a profit sharing plan, which will allow you to put more money away. And then at a certain age, at somewhere in the late 40s, 47, 48, 49, you could use a defined benefit plan that would allow you to put up to $250,000 a year in a pension plan for you. And there's requirements that have to be met to be able to do that. But the pension plan tool can be very powerful. And it's a way, the money goes in tax-free. It accumulates tax-free. The only time you're taxed on is when you start pulling the money out. There's a requirement in the U.S. Pension law today that says you have to start taking money out at a certain age. If you take it out at too young of an age, then you are taxed, and there are some penalties on that. So you have to pay attention to all that. But frankly, putting away some kind of savings, if you will, from your income into some kind of investment pension plan is a great way, to achieve financial independence. And I personally think every dentist on the planet needs to have a game plan to achieve financial independence. Sadly, the American Dental Association tells us that, according to the recent data, that only 3% of dentists in the United States can retire at age 65 without reducing their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's sobering to me. 3%. You deserve better than that. Now, maybe they could retire, but notice the qualifier that the ADA put on that, without reducing their lifestyle. Maybe they could retire, but maybe they'd have to significantly reduce their lifestyle. So we'd like more than that. You deserve more than that. Now let's tie this back in to the topic of this podcast, which is the Less Insurance Dependence Podcast. If you're a regular listener, you've heard me talk about an example of a client. And the example was, this was an office that collected just over $1 million. I think we'd all say that's a nice, strong practice, collecting $1 million, right? There, single doctor, strong hygiene department. But because they were involved with PPO plans, they had to produce $1,537,000 in order to collect $1 million. Now, if you're not listening full strength, you might think, oh my gosh, that office has a collections problem. No, they don't have a collections problem. What kind of problem do they have, Naren?
The adjustment problem.
The adjustment problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly. They're writing off $537,000 a year. It gets even worse because the overhead is based on $1,537,000, not on the $1 million they collected, because they had to generate $1,537,000 worth of dentistry. So, Naren, remember that statistic that the ADA used? Only 3% of dentists can retire?
Right.
Go 10 years with an extra $537,000 that goes right to the bottom line.
Right.
Right to the bottom line, because that extra 537, there is no overhead on that. You already generated all that.
Right. It's like $5.37 million.
In just 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
I mean, in 20 years, if you're, many of our listeners will be young enough to extrapolate that out 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do that, Naren.
That's like $10.7 million.
Yeah, $10.7 million. And so imagine you having that in your portfolio, not to mention the growth, if you're investing in
Right.
whatever you're
Because
investing
to do that math, even if you need 400,000 and assuming your investments are making 5%, you need a savings of 8 million. So here you are like, even if you just do 10 years and you get 5.3 and let's say the investments also grow, then you will end up at 8 million.
You'll be way above
that. Yeah. Just in 10 years, you'll be way above it just by dropping your PPO plans.
So what's the takeaway plan? Quit handing $537,000 a year to the fat cats of the PPO plan and hand it to yourself.
Yeah, good idea.
Give it to yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of that. Now, in reality, and if you've been a listener to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast, not every office, not every dental practice is in a position to resign successfully from PPO plans.
I think everyone can do it. Just they need some coaching.
They're not in a position to do it.
Yeah.
If they have never invested in their practice, they have a constant turnover of team members, they aren't giving patients a unique reason to come to you, then don't even think about resigning. Because why in the world should a patient come to your office when you're outside of their network when they could go down the street to the doc in the box in the in a corporate office and they have that office that's also not giving them reasons to come to them, but at least that office takes their insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do want to make a little technical detail here that is a mistake that many dentists make in planning for their financial future. And this comes from years of experience of helping doctors, not from an investment advisor standpoint. I outsource that. But in terms of seeing the byproduct of those decisions, many dentists are overzealous. They're over-optimistic about thinking what rate of return they could get in their investments. Like maybe they've successfully invested in real estate, and maybe their real estate has gone up at 15% a year. I'm just making up a number, Naren.
Yeah.
But then they assume, I'm a real estate investment wizard, and I'm always going to get 15% a year. And then if you happen to retire at a time when that rate isn't there,
the market just drops 40%, which has happened when every few years. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what you thought was enough isn't enough. If you're the kind of person that puts it into, say, investments like stocks and bonds, one of the recommendations that my financial advisor uses, he said, Gary, never plan on getting more than a 4% annual return, even though historically you've done a lot better than that.
Right.
Don't project more than 4, because if it's better than that, it's great news. But 4 is a pretty safe bet in if you look at averaging over a long period of time, 4%. Right. So let's go to that $400,000 example now. I'm going to put your math skills to a test here. You'll do great. How much money in a pension portfolio, stocks, bonds, whatever, how much do we need to produce $400,000 a year at a 4% rate of return, never touching that principal? How much do we need in the investment vehicle?
10 million.
10 million. So check the math on that. 10 million times 4% is spinning off $400,000 a year in income.
Mm-hmm.
And that 10 million is staying the same, even after taking that income to live on, because now we're saying you're not practicing.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that? I mean, and I'm of the belief, because I've seen it happen so many times, in my work as a coach, every dentist has the capability of doing it. Think about what the earning power of a dentist is, over a career, over a long career.
Right.
They should be able to do this, but I'm going to suggest that it's so much more difficult to do when you're handing off $537,000 a year to the fat cats at the insurance company. It's almost like trying to swim with your hands tied and your feet tied. Yeah, you can do it, but it's a lot harder.
Absolutely, Gary.
And that's really the message here. Yeah, you can achieve financial independence, but start thinking about the decisions that you make to get there. There's a lot of decisions that go into the end result of achieving financial independence.
I think a good place to start is to know what that number is for you, like how much income do you need? Second, figure out what your net worth should get to. And the net worth could be the assets you own, could be your practice itself. And then third is like put a plan in place. And I think part of the plan should be dropping PPO plans if you are, infested by them, because like that's the number one killer in terms of growing your profits and net worth.
Yeah, it's literally like taking the air out of the room.
Yeah.
But I agree, Naren. I think that Stephen Covey concept, begin with the end in mind, have a number, set a number. And so you could use our math, whatever you think your annual income is needed at retirement, whatever that is. I also think another myth comes into play here, because a lot of dentists say, oh, if I'm retired, I won't need the kind of income that I have now. My experience has been that that's not true. Like, for example, the doctor that says, when I'm retired, I'm going to play more golf, and I have a membership at the country club, so I'm not going to be spending as much money. I'll play all my golf at the country club. But what actually happens in real life, they have more time.
Right.
So they want to go out and experience golf vacations, want to play courses they haven't already played. And the myth of I'll play all my golf at the country club doesn't really come true. And so I think you should overestimate whatever that number is that you think would work, and then just do the math, figuring a 4% rate of return. That 4% will probably make you choke a little bit, because you're probably doing better than that.
Yeah.
It was a wake-up call for me with my financial planner, because I've always done way better than that. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what the timing is going to be when you retire, and you want to make sure you don't outlive your money.
I like the 4% because you have to also take into account inflation. So let's say even if you get 7%, the 3% is inflation anyway. So technically you only got 4%, even though on paper it looks like you got more.
Sure. And inflation could be higher at different times.
Yeah.
But do the 4% and do the math. And like I said, if you're thinking 400 a year in income would be great, then that number is 10 million. And then how are you going to get to that 10 million? Through funding tools like a pension plan, making investments, but also the value of your practice. Think how much the value of your practice.
Even buying the building. If some of you can buy the building, and that could become an asset, assuming you can make the math work. So you are turning your rent into, your mortgage payments, which then 20 years later, you own the building.
Over time, I recommend all of our clients that if it's financially possible, I want them owning their own building, holding their own space.
Right.
I should say building, but it could be a condo within a building,
right.
Space. Now, in some areas, it's not. Like if you're in downtown Toronto, that's not viable.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's too expensive. Yeah.
But if you're in a suburban location or certainly small town, you can own your space. After 20 years, if you do a 20-year mortgage on your building, you're going to own that building free and clear.
Right.
History is the building's going to appreciate over time. But even if it doesn't, you own a building free and clear. If you've leased space for 20 years, after 20 years, you have 20 years of rent receipts. That's it. So if you factor in the sale of the building, the sale of your practice, what you've done in terms of pension planning or savings, and to get to that number, then the likelihood that you're going to get there is a lot better than the 97% of dentists that are not getting there on their own, according to the ADA.
Yeah.
But also key to that would be to stop the bleeding from how much you're writing off with PPO plans. Well, Naren, as we wrap up today, I thought this was an intriguing topic, the goal of achieving financial independence from your practice. And we say from your practice because we're not counting on inheritance or winning the lottery or some kind of windfall. We're talking about from your work, from your skill, from your profession. If you haven't already set up a marketing strategy meeting, I would encourage you to do that with Equa, because the key to this is having a steady supply of quality new patients, and Equa can help you do that. If you'd like help on the coaching side to help you optimize your practice, help you reduce your insurance dependence, set up a coaching strategy meeting with me. Naren, the URL to set up a marketing strategy meeting is Equa. Go ahead and provide that URL.
Yes, it's equa.com, ekwa.com/MSM for the marketing strategy meeting. And for the coaching strategy meeting, it's thrivingdentist.com/CSM.
And that would be a meeting with me on Zoom. You'd be opening up my schedule, scheduling a time. I'd be talking with you about this. Would love to share any topic you'd like to talk about at your practice, including successfully resigning from insurance. Well, guys, thank you for the privilege of your time today. Naren and I look forward to connecting with you on the next Less Insurance Dependence podcast.